Hello guys, in this video, I'm going to share all of my predictions for Squid Game Season 3. This video is the result of all the information I've gathered and all the theories I've crafted so far. Just a heads up, I'll be updating some of my earlier predictions based on new details I've recently learned. I'm actually making this video before watching Season 3, so I can see how many things I got right. Once I've seen the finale, I'll come back, reflect on what I got wrong and what I got right, and share my final thoughts. In the first episode, we'll probably see the aftermath of the rebellion. Guihun is brought back into the dorm inside a coffin. He wakes up confused, unsure of what's happening or why he's still alive. A short conversation follows between the main characters, where they discuss what happened during the rebellion. Next, the guards enter to prepare for the next vote. This is when we see Guihun break down. When it becomes clear there's no way to make him comply, the guards end up handcuffing him. The vote takes place, and the result is that the game will continue. After the vote, Seonyeon approaches Guihun and tells him that all his efforts were pointless, that he can't change his fate. We start to see the main group splitting apart. Daeho distances himself from everyone, choosing to stay isolated in his bed. Maybe the guilt is just too much for him to face Hyunju anymore. Meanwhile, Inho returns to his role as the frontman. One of his first actions is taking a call from Captain Park, who informs him about the situation on the ship. For now, no one suspects the captain, but they're getting dangerously close to finding the real island. We also get confirmation that the Triangle Guard, who shot player 246, was actually Noel. She intentionally shot him in the leg, allowing her to send him to the organ traffickers. She scans him and declares him dead, then secretly shares the plan to get him off the island. However, I don't think she'll reveal her true motives just yet. Next, the players prepare for the hide and seek game. Each person spins a gumball machine to determine which team they'll be on. Once everyone has picked, the guards explain the rules. It's a timed game, most likely with a 30-minute limit. All the players enter a maze, and each team has a different objective. The blue team receives a key and must find the door it opens, essentially a safe room. The red team, on the other hand, gets knives. Their goal is to hunt down blue team members, steal their keys, and use them to reach the safe rooms themselves. In this game, we'll see a lot of player alliances form, some of which will genuinely surprise you, like the unexpected partnership between Namgyu and Myunggi. However, only 2 alliances have been confirmed so far. The first is the Shaman Lady and her loyal followers. The second is Hyunju, who teams up with Guillaume and Junho. After the rules of the game are announced, players are given a brief window of time to swap teams with someone else. At least 2 team switches happen here. The first is between Junho and Myunggi. We get a short but powerful exchange between them as they trade vests. Myunggi, still wearing his blue vest, looks at her and says, "I'd do anything for you and the baby." When Junho asks, "Is it easy for you to kill someone?" he replies, "I'd kill everyone here if it meant leaving with you and the money." Pay close attention to that last line, "and the money." This is the second time Myunggi has grouped her and the prize together. To him, it's not love or money, it's both or neither. This subtle but chilling detail is later confirmed by Yim Si-won, the actor behind Myunggi. In an interview, he described player 333 as an icon of regret, saying that Myunggi's biggest mistake was believing he could have both love and the money. I believe this conflict will play a major role later in the series. The second pair to switch vests are Young-sik and Guillaume. Initially, the mother picks the red ball, but I believe she convinces her son to trade because she feels she has a better chance of surviving as a blue player, especially since the red team is given knives. But, as we'll see later in the episode, this decision will haunt her forever. There's also a failed attempt at switching teams. I think Daeho, who draws a blue ball, tries to swap with Guihun in a moment of guilt, likely to redeem himself after the events of the rebellion. But Guihun, still furious with him, refuses. That's why Daeho ends up playing the game as a blue player. This game is set to be the most emotional of the entire season. We'll see the loss of major characters, and the one that will hit hardest is Hyunju. As I mentioned earlier, she teams up with Geumja and Junho and protects them throughout the game. Thanks to her, both of them make it safely to their designated room. After seeing them secure and safe, Hyunju continues searching for her own exit. Eventually, she finds a safe room, but just when she lets her guard down, thinking she's finally safe, tragedy strikes. A red player stabs her in the back. Meanwhile, Daeho survives. This twist would be a classic Hwang Dong-hyuk move, a poetic reversal. Throughout the game, Hyunju looks like a guaranteed survivor. Her military background helps her fight off red players, even though they're armed with knives. We even see a shot in the trailer where she opens what appears to be a safe room. Everything points to her survival. On the other hand, Daeho looks hopeless throughout the teasers. He seems defeated, as if he's already accepted his fate. But then something unexpected happens. Maybe another player steps in to help him, and he survives in the final moments of the game. The key here is character arc and purpose. Hyunju has already fulfilled her narrative role. She was the ex-Marine who played a pivotal role in the rebellion, and she ensured the survival of Geumja and Junho in the 4th game. Her story has reached its natural conclusion. Daeho's, on the other hand, is just beginning. We still need to uncover more about his past and the exact trauma that triggered his PTSD. That's why I've changed my mind. I now believe that it's Hyunju, not Daeho, who will die during this game. Another major character I believe won't survive the 4th game is Young-sik. In the trailer, we see his mother in tears, overwhelmed with emotion, and no other player's death would cause that kind of reaction from her. Her devastation strongly suggests that Young-sik doesn't make it out of this game alive. This next theory is more of a stretch, but I believe player 044, the shaman lady, will also die during the 4th game. She and her group of followers seem to place absolute faith in her supposed divine powers, but that blind trust could backfire. I think her overconfidence in those powers will ultimately lead to her downfall. As for Noel and player 246, here's how I see their subplot unfolding. Noel successfully infiltrates the organ trafficking ring, while the guards are preparing to harvest player 246's organs. She strikes. She manages to kill all the guards involved in the operation, allowing Ga Young-seok to escape, disguised in a guard's uniform. However, this bold move doesn't go unnoticed. The black square mask begins to suspect something's wrong when he can't reach any of the guards assigned to the organ harvesting. After an investigation, he discovers they're all dead, and his top suspect becomes Noel. There's a shot in the trailer showing her handcuffed by the black square mask. This suggests she eventually gets caught. But here's the twist. The black square mask can't execute her without the front man's approval. That's when Noel gets a face-to-face meeting with Inho. I believe he questions her, asking where player 246 is. Noel refuses to give him up, and as a result, Inho has her imprisoned. Meanwhile, Gyeong-seok managed to sneak outside the base. Later in the series, Noel manages to escape the facility, likely through the ventilation system, or possibly through the cave using diving gear. If it's the latter, it's possible she brought a second set of equipment for Ga Young-seok, intending to return to the base and steal one of the boats we see being chased in the trailer. But after encountering Junho, she gives the second set of diving gear to him instead, and the two decide to infiltrate the base together. Alternatively, she may have handed both sets of gear to Gyeong-seok and Junho so they could enter the base via the cave, while she takes the ventilation route to create a diversion. Either way, one thing is clear. Noel and Junho will end up working together to infiltrate the base. Later in the series, we'll see her successfully steal a boat, something I'll explore in more detail later in this video. As for Junho's arc, I believe his storyline begins with him quietly suspecting Captain Park. He doesn't voice his suspicions to anyone on the boat, but by the end of the first episode, or early in the second, he sets a trap. Maybe he feeds Park some false information, and Park unknowingly passes it along to the front man. Once that information is compromised, Junho knows for certain Captain Park is working for the organization. But Park doesn't go down without a fight. Before he's caught, he takes out several members of Junho's team, After exposing the traitor, Junho eventually finds the island. There, he encounters Gyeongseok, mistaking him for a guard at first and taking him prisoner. But Gyeongseok eventually reveals his identity as a player, and the two decide to work together. This is when Noel reunites with them. From this point on, their combined storylines will become central to the rebellion building within the island. Now let's turn our focus back to the players. After that horrific fourth game, everyone is shattered. Emotionally drained and physically broken, they finally come to understand what these games are truly about and the horrifying reality behind them. This is when we see Gyumja deliver her heartfelt speech to Guihun. I believe Guihun ends up killing someone during the fourth game, but I don't think it'll be a main character. Instead, I believe he kills a red player, and only in a situation where he's forced to. He does it to protect a blue player, possibly someone like Geumja or Daiho. The red player he kills had already obtained a key by murdering a fellow contestant, but instead of heading to a safe room, he stays behind in the maze to hunt down even more players. Guihun steps in and takes him down to save someone else. That's the only scenario where I see Guihun taking a life. And perhaps that's what prompts Geumja's emotional words to him. After the game, another vote takes place. Geumja pleads with the players to stop the games, but her efforts are in vain. Most of the remaining players have a new mindset. We've already gone through hell. We might as well keep going and try to win the full prize. The vote once again favors continuing the game, with the final result being heartbreakingly close, decided by just one vote. The shocking part? The decisive vote belongs to Minsu, who chooses to continue, while Namgyu, seriously injured in the fourth game, votes to stop. He knows he likely won't survive the next round. That same night, Junho goes into labor, and player 149 helps her deliver the baby safely. This event is why Junho refuses to play in the fifth game. Her body simply can't endure that kind of strain so soon after giving birth. And that fifth game, it's brutal. Even the players who had previously insisted on continuing the competition now stare at the challenge with wide-eyed fear. The regret is visible on their faces. They realize too late that they've made a terrible mistake. From what we know, the game is a twisted version of jump rope. Players must cross a bridge from Younghee's side to Chul-Su's side while dodging a giant, deadly rope. There's a gap in the middle of the bridge that players must leap across, all while timing their movements to avoid the swinging rope. It's also a timed challenge, and I believe the time limit corresponds to the number of players remaining. But there has to be a twist. It's never that simple. In one of my previous videos, I speculated that players may be required to cross the bridge twice, perhaps to retrieve an item from the other side, like a flower. If true, that twist would make the game even more unforgiving. What's certain is that we'll see a lot of deaths in this round, and even more betrayals. The most heartbreaking betrayal, I believe, will come from Myung-gi. Despite his earlier words to Junho, despite his claim that he would do anything for her and their baby, he abandons her. We see in the trailer that Junho gives up before even trying, and Myung-gi tries to push her to play. But the reality is, she just gave birth. There's no way she can physically handle a game this intense. Despite what many fans think, she won't be excused. The guards will force her to participate. As I've said before, the frontman doesn't bend the rules for anyone. Myung-gi, realizing Junho isn't going to make it, decides to save himself. He says something like, "I won't die here for nothing. If you've given up on life, that doesn't mean I should, too." And then, he leaves her behind. He even refuses to take the baby with him. It's a cruel but revealing moment, one that confirms what we've suspected about Myung-gi all along. When it comes down to it, he'll always choose the money over love. The one person who will come to Junho's aid is none other than Guihun. And this isn't just speculation, it's based on that leaked interview hinting that Guihun would complete the challenge while also taking care of the baby. How exactly he manages to pull that off, I have no idea, but I'm sure it's going to be incredibly emotional to watch. Sadly, I believe this is the game where Junho dies. Her character has fulfilled her purpose. She gave birth, and she made sure her baby was safe. Knowing someone will protect her child gives her the peace she needs to let go. I think that scene from the teaser, where she's crying, comes at the moment she realizes she won't survive. And yet, despite knowing the odds, she still tries to complete the game, but ultimately fails. Another major betrayal might be linked to that chilling line from the trailer. Guihun asks, "What are you doing?" And the other player coldly replies, "Playing the game." I think that moment could be even darker than we expect. That player might have pushed someone to their death, or worse, they might have pretended to help Junho. Maybe she's just about to clear the game, and someone offers her a hand, only to pull it away at the last second. If that happens, and that's what leads to her death, I swear I might break my TV. Now, Namgyu will likely lose his Thanos necklace, and I believe he'll die trying to make it across the bridge. As for the survivors, I've changed my predictions a bit. I now believe the ones who make it through this brutal round will be Guihun, Myunggi, Minsu, Daiho, and, yes, Geumja. That's right, the old lady might just survive this 5th game. Here's why. Jump rope is typically a game associated with girls, and Geumja probably played it a lot as a child. Remember how Il-nam's childhood experience helped him win the tug-of-war game in Season 1? I think Geumja's childhood experience will be what saves her here. It's poetic and kind of brilliant. Then comes the next vote. I believe Guihun and Daiho will vote X, wanting to end the games. Myunggi and Minsu, still chasing the prize, will vote O. That leaves Geumja with the deciding vote, and I think she'll vote O as well, not because she wants the money, but out of spite for Myunggi. Her resentment will drive her decision. It's personal now. Now what happens to the baby after this? That's one of the biggest questions I have. I think the guards will take the baby away after the game ends. And here's where it gets really dark. What if the front man adds the baby to the list of winners? That would be a truly twisted move. Following the vote, Guihun will be invited to speak with the front man. And in that conversation, they'll discuss the core of everything, the value of humanity itself. The front man will likely propose a bet. If Guihun still believes humanity is worth saving after the final game, then Inho will answer all his questions and reveal everything. But if Inho wins, then Guihun must give up and join the organization. I think the final game will be simple on the surface, but deeply psychological, crafted to reveal the darkest parts of human nature. And the ultimate twist, all 5 remaining players could survive, if they just cooperate. But knowing this show, that might be asking too much. Now let's talk about what I think the mechanics of the final game could be. Players are placed in a circle and the game is played across multiple rounds. In each round, they face a simple choice. Pick one of 2 shapes, with each shape secretly representing a number, either 1 or 2. Once everyone makes their selection, the guards collect the shapes and the next step begins. Each player must vote on whether the sum of all selected numbers is even or odd. If a player guesses wrong, they receive a strike, 1 bullet, and if they guess wrong twice, they're eliminated. At first glance, it sounds incredibly simple. All players need to do is communicate, coordinate, and stick to the plan. If they work together for just 5 rounds, everyone walks away alive with the prize money. But of course, this is Squid Game, and nothing is ever that simple. And that's exactly why I think it fits the show's central question so perfectly. Is humanity still worth saving? If everyone wanted to share the money and leave alive, they could have voted X before this game even began. But they didn't. They chose O. They chose to keep playing. So let's imagine how this might unfold. The first 2 rounds go smoothly. Everyone does exactly what they agreed on. But then comes the 3rd round. Someone lies. Maybe they pick the wrong number on purpose. The group's vote is wrong. Everyone now has 1 strike. Tensions explode. Accusations start flying. Chaos sets in. What do you do next? Do you trust your teammates and stick with the original plan, risking your life if someone betrays you again? Or do you act selfishly, ensuring your own safety at the cost of someone else's. It becomes a psychological war zone. This isn't just about numbers, it's about trust, fear, and desperation. Now here's something important. I believe the game shown in the trailer is actually a flashback from Inho's past, not the final game itself. Director Hwang already confirmed that he designed a completely new, never-before-seen final game, and that nothing about it has been revealed in trailers. Still, I don't think we'll have just one winner this time. I believe Guihun, Junho, and Daeho will all survive. After the final game ends, Guihun is once again summoned to a private meeting with the frontman. There, Inho asks the same question, "Have you changed your opinion?" And this time, I think Guihun says yes, but not because he wants to join the organization. He still believes what they're doing is wrong, but he finally understands how greed would always wins over empathy and how people truly are. That's when Inho reveals his identity. We see his full backstory. The moment he met Ilnam after his own final game. That green button flashback from the trailer, that's from Inho's victory, his decision to keep playing, and ultimately to take Ilnam's offer and become the front man. Now let's pivot back to the other major subplot, Junho, Noel, and Gyeongseok. I don't think player 246 will make it to the end. After they steal the boat, after the gunfight and a narrow escape, I believe Gyeongseok will be fatally shot. In his final moments, he tells Noel that he has a daughter, and with his dying breath, he begs her to protect her. Noel accepts, and in the end, she survives, holding on to that promise. In a tragic but poetic twist, Noel finds the family she lost. She becomes the guardian of the girl who unknowingly gave her hope and raises her as her own. It's heartbreaking, but it's also beautiful. And in a world as dark as Squid Game, sometimes redemption doesn't come through justice. It comes through love. The most unpredictable part of the entire story is what happens to Junho after he infiltrates the base. His fate feels like a coin toss. There's a 50-50 chance he survives or dies. But one thing feels inevitable: a reunion with his brother, Inho. Now, I don't believe Junho has ever truly let go of the pain his brother caused. We saw how that tension simmered under the surface during his conversation with their mother, the moment he questioned why Inho took that bribe. That confrontation is coming, and it's not going to be clean or easy. Despite everything, Inho's only remaining soft spot is his younger brother. Let's not forget, he once gave Junho a kidney. That connection still matters. That's why I think we'll get a powerful, emotional conversation between the two. Junho will demand answers. Inho will try to justify himself, explaining how he lost faith in humanity after the death of his wife. But Junho won't buy it. He won't fall for the emotional armor Inho hides behind. He'll call him out without mercy. And yet, Inho won't shoot him this time. He's tired, spiritually exhausted, especially after witnessing Guihun hold on to his belief in people, even after everything he's endured. Inho knows he's lost. The only way out of the frontman role is death. I think Inho dies, either by sacrificing himself so Junho can escape the island, or in the most devastating twist of all, Junho is forced to pull the trigger himself. But here's the brutal truth. Even if Inho dies, the games won't stop. The VIPs will simply appoint a new frontman. Even if Junho manages to expose parts of the operation, the system is too corrupt. The police, the government, too many people are willing to look away. In the end, nothing changes. And that's what makes the epilogue so haunting and powerful. We see Geomja, still alive, raising Junhee's baby, giving the child a life Junhee never got to finish. And Guihun? He's finally heading to the airport, ready to fly to the US and reunite with his daughter. But on his way there, he sees it, another recruiter, slapping a desperate man in a subway station, just like what happened to him. Only this time, Guihun looks away. He doesn't intervene. He doesn't turn back. He walks on because he's finally made peace with himself. He knows the truth now. Evil and greed will always exist, and no matter how hard he fights, he can't save the whole world. But he can choose to live, to cherish the time he has left, to find joy in the little things, to love his daughter. That's the real victory. That's the real wealth.